1967 Philippine Constitution. So for today po, explain ko yung possible defenses or arguments for both sides dun sa parte ng Congress at sa side din po ng mga vloggers. Okay? So unang-una, hindi ko na-explain in detail kung ano ba yung freedom of speech and expression. That is very self-explanatory naman po. Basically, our right to free speech is our right to speak freely without prior restraint or censorship from the government. And yung expression naman po is our correlated din po to sa freedom of speech. Pero yung sa expression, it does not necessarily mean yung pagsasalita mo lang. Pero this involves yung form of expression like yung pag-rally ninyo, pag-marcha, or pagsuot nyo ng certain damit to give out a message. Okay? So yan po yung main difference ng freedom of speech and freedom of expression. At para naman po mas maintindihan niya kung gaano talaga ka-importante itong freedom of speech and expression natin, i-explain ko po sa inyo kung ano ba yung test na ina-apply ng Constitution or ng batas natin para mapakialaman or ma-regulate to ng government natin. Okay? So yung test po na tinatawag dyan para ma-regulate to ng government is the strictest test under our laws or yung tinatawag po na strict scrutiny test. Okay? So sa strict scrutiny test po, para makita nyo or mas maintindihan nyo po talaga kung gaano ka-importante to or gaano ka-stricto to, ang presumption po when the government attempts to regulate or performs actions that will regulate our freedom of speech and expression or any of our other fundamental rights, ang presumption po ng action ng government na yon is unconstitutional. So kung makita po ninyo, ganun po talaga ka-stricto yung batas or yung constitution natin when it comes to regulation of our fundamental rights, diba? Kasi nawala na po yung presumption of validity. Ang nangyari na ngayon, presumed unconstitutional yung action ng government. Okay? At para mawala yung presumption of unconstitutionality ng government act or regulation, kailangan po mapasayan ngayon ng government body yung tinatawag natin or yung mention ko na strict scrutiny test. Okay? At yung strict scrutiny test po, meron yan siyang dalawang requirements. So yung first requirement po niyan is yung tinatawag na compelling state interest. At yung second requirement naman po is that it must be the least restrictive means employed by the government agency. Okay? So itong dalawang test po to, hindi po to siya or and po to. Meaning dapat yung number 1 and yung number 2 makomply fully at strictly ng government in order for the presumption of unconstitutionality is mawala at makonsider as constitutional and valid yung action nila. Okay? So ulitin ko po, pag hindi po maipasad yung dalawang requirements na yun ng batas natin, which is yung compelling state interest and yung least restrictive means employed, the presumption of unconstitutionality will remain po and therefore invalid po or unconstitutional yung government act and or regulation. So yung first requirement, which is the compelling state interest, in Tagalog, yung easiest way para ma-explain ko po to is parang meron talagang grabe or katakot-takot na interest na gustong protektahan against yung government, kaya nila nire-regulate or pinapakialaman yung free speech or freedom of expression ng mga tao. Okay? So yan po yan. Pangalawa naman, yung least restrictive means, ibig sabihin yan is yung ginawa nilang government action or regulation, yun yung pinaka mababang way para ma-regulate or mapakialaman yung freedom of speech and expression ng mga tao. So ngayon, i-apply na po natin siya sa nangyaring discussion or sa hearing ng TRICOM ng Congress. Okay, so before po tayo mag-proceed sa next question, kung nandyan pa po kayo nanonood at nag-enjoy kayo sa video ko so far, kung nasa YouTube po kayo, huwag nyo kalimutan mag-subscribe. Kung nasa Facebook or TikTok po kayo, huwag nyo naman po kalimutan mag-follow. Okay, now continue po tayo sa discussion natin. So ngayon po, explain ko muna yung sa side ng mga vloggers, okay, kung bakit hindi nagka-qualify or kung ano yung pwede nila i-argue para hindi mag-qualify or hindi pumasa dun sa strict scrutiny test yung actions po ng TRICOM Committee ng Congress. So unang-una po dun sa compelling state interest requirement, under po kasi niyan meron pa yan siyang subtest na tinatawag na clear and present danger rule or the clear and present danger test. Okay? So ibig sabihin po ng clear and present danger, dapat po yung danger na gustong protektahan against ng government is klaro siya at nandun na talaga yung presence or yung existence niya. Okay? So dito pwede argue po ng vloggers na there is no clear and present danger because number 1, wala pa naman po silang speech na sinasabi or ginagawa yet nare-regulate or nasa-censor na po or nare-restrain na yung speech nila by the mere act of yung pangpatawag ng TRICOM. Therefore, since there is no clear and present danger, consequently, wala rin pong compelling state interest na gusto or dapat protektahan against yung government. Okay? So yan po yung first argument nila. Idagdag ko lang din po pala kasi nakalimutan ko pala mention dun sa una. So yung sinabi po ng TRICOM committee dito, yung reason nila kung bakit kinakonduct nila tong legislative inquiry in aid of legislation is para daw po labanan yung fake news. Okay? So yan po yung reason nila. So ngayon balik tayo. Dun sa number 1 requirement po, compelling state interest, hindi rin po siya magko-qualify na merong compelling state interest na gustong labanan ng government because meron na po tayong batas against fake news and against cyber libel. Okay? Specifically, Article 154 po yan ng Revised Penal Code, and then yung mga libel or defamation provisions din under our Revised Penal Code. Tapos, under naman po the Cybercrime Prevention Act, meron din pong provision doon na crimes committed under the Revised Penal Code or under special penal laws that is committed via digital means shall be also penalized. Okay? Therefore, yung pagpakalat po ng fake news online via digital means at yung pagsabi or paggawa ng mga libelous statements online is already penalized po under our laws. Consequently, wala pong compelling state interest kasi meron na tayong batas na nagpoprotekta against those dangers na sinasabi nilang gusto nila labanan. Okay? So yan po yung pangalawang reason bakit hindi nagko-qualify under dun sa first requirement. Okay, ngayon punta naman po tayo sa second requirement, which is the least restrictive means employed. So dito po sa number 2 requirement natin, hindi rin po nagko-qualify yung acts of Congress because yun nga po, meron na tayong batas against fake news and meron na rin tayong batas against cyber libel or libel in general. Therefore, kung gusto talaga protektahan ng Congress or i-regulate ng Congress yung actions, yung freedom of speech and freedom of expression ng vloggers against fake news, ang proper remedy po or the least restrictive means na dapat ginawa dito ng mga congressman is kasuhan po directly na for fake news peddling or for the commission of libel and or cyber libel. Yun po yung least restrictive mean. Kasi pag dito po, ipatawag pa nila, mag-legislate pa sila, yun nga po, magkakaroon ng prior restraint and censorship in relation dun sa right to free speech and freedom of expression. Therefore, taking into consideration everything that I have discussed, pwede po talagang questionin dito ng mga vloggers na hindi pumasa sa strict scrutiny test yung pagpatawag ng legislative inquiry in aid of legislation ng mga congressman para labanan ang fake news. Okay? So ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa side ng Congress. Of course, yung unang-unang magiging defense dyan and argument ng Congress kung bakit nagagawa nila tong legislative inquiry in aid of legislation is because yung power po nilang ganon is a constitutional power po nila, na constitutional mandate. Nasa constitution po talaga natin yan. Therefore, they can say na they can conduct this legislative inquiry in aid of legislation to legislate laws against fake news po. Okay? So yan yung first silang argument. Ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa strict scrutiny test, yung kailangan nilang malampasan or maipasa. Okay? So yung first po natin is the compelling state interest, kung saan under nyan meron pong clear and present danger requirement. So dito pwede po i-argue ng Congress is that merong compelling state interest and a clear and present danger considering meron na pong libelous statements na sinabi yung ibang vloggers dito na pinatawag nila. Okay, so yan po yung pwede nilang maging argument. Ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa number 2, yung least restrictive means. So dito po pwede argue ng Congress na yung pagpatawag nila ng legislative inquiry is the least restrictive means employed considering pwede nila sabihin na yung cyber libel laws or yung fake news laws natin ngayon is mahina or weak or kulang yung provision. So yan po yung pwede nilang maging argument. Okay, so yan po yung maging side naman sa side ng Congress. So sa Congress, very straightforward and basic lang po lagi yung explanation natin kasi meron naman po yan sila talagang constitutional mandate to conduct legislative inquiries in aid of legislation. Therefore, pwede po talaga nila gawin yan. Tapos yung mangyayari na lang po talaga dyan, yung actual legal issue na lang dito is kung pasado ba sila dun sa test, at yung magde-decide naman po talaga niyan at the end of the day kung pasado sila sa strict scrutiny test is none other than the courts po, or specifically dito sa Supreme Court kasi nag-file na po yung mga vloggers. Okay? So in conclusion po, ako yung professional assessment ko dito is mas malakas yung argument nung side nung vlogger po because yung batas po talaga natin, yung constitution natin and numerous decided cases of the Supreme Court natin po talaga leans heavily towards the protection of free speech and freedom of expression. Kaya po mas madami akong nasabing defenses din dun sa side ng vloggers because based on jurisprudence po natin, mas madami po talagang defenses and or arguments yung mga lumalaban against the regulation of freedom of speech and expression. So this is going to be another very interesting case po kasi nag-file na yung mga vloggers sa Supreme Court. So ngayon, antayin po natin kung ano yung magiging action ng Supreme Court. Yung i-determine po dito actually